Welcome to this online presentation on finding tests, surveys, and other measures for your research. Today, we will discuss types of tests and measures, how to locate them, and issues related to copyright and permissions. According to the American Psychological Association, measurement is the process and tools used in assessment of human subjects. There are different types of instruments that can be used to measure human traits, abilities, attitudes, etc. They vary from typical achievement tests used in college courses to performance tests of motor skills to surveys of attitudes and many more. Another way to look at measurement instruments is to categorize them by access. One category is called commercial or published tests. These are tests such as the ACT or the SAT for entrance into college, or the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, which is a personality or psychological type instrument. These instruments are only available for sale from specific publishers. We contrast that with non-commercial or unpublished tests, which are typically small-scale tests found in books, journal articles, dissertations, etc. In this video, we will focus on ways to find non-commercial measures for your research. We can find information about tests and measures in many of the same types of sources that we've used before: books, articles, websites, etc. In this video, we'll focus on databases and journal articles as great sources of information about measures, and in some cases, the measures themselves. Be careful about using measures found on the open web. These may be unauthorized versions or homegrown tests with no accompanying information as to how they were developed or how well they work. We recommend that you look for instruments that have actually been used in research, such as studies appearing in academic journals. The Webster University Library subscribes to two databases that provide information about tests and measures. The first database, Mental Measurements Yearbook, covers commercial tests. The second database, PsycTESTS, covers predominantly non-commercial tests. Since the focus of this video is on finding non-commercial measures, we will feature the PsycTESTS database. To begin, go to the library homepage at library.webster.edu. Click on the blue Articles and Databases box. At the top of the Articles and Databases page, there's an alphabetical drop-down list of the databases available from the library. Select PsycTESTS from the list. You will need to log in to access any of our databases. In the PsycTESTS database, you see some search boxes at the top. You may enter the name of a test if you know it, or a topic. In our example, we'll search the PsycTESTS database for tests on the topic of employee engagement. Below the search box, you'll see a number of options for limiting your results. These are optional, and we recommend using these sparingly, as they will cut down on the number of instruments you find. Here's an instrument retrieved in our search called the Employee Empowerment Scale. The PsycTESTS database includes some basic descriptive information about the instrument and contact information for the authors. You can see at the top left, it has the PDF full text indicating that all or part of the actual test instrument is available. Let's click the link to the PDF. Here's the PDF. Additional information is available, including the original source article and what permissions, if any, are required. In this example, you would scroll down to see the full text of the actual scale. PsycTESTS is a great source for easily accessible instruments, but in reality, it only has a very small fraction of the many non-commercial tests and measures that have been created through the years. Let's look at another great source for information on non-commercial tests: journal articles. Journal articles are one of the best sources for identifying tests and other measures that have been used in research. From the library homepage, let's once again click the blue Articles and Databases button. Further down the Articles and Databases page, you'll see a number of broad subject categories representing areas in which the library offers databases for finding journal articles and other materials. There are journals published in every discipline. For example, if you were looking for instruments to measure ethical leadership, you might want to look for art journal articles in the area of business. Let's click the link to Business to find a business database. Here's the start of the list of business databases. The most important, heavily used databases appear at the top in a Best Bets section. Let's get into the Business Source Complete database. In the Business Source Complete database, we can insert our topic, ethical leadership, in the first box and click Search. Here's an article called New Insights into Ethical Leadership that we found in the Business Source Complete database. A brief excerpt appears in the middle of the screen and mentions an instrument called the Ethical Leadership at Work questionnaire. If we look up the developer's name in the reference list at the end of the New Insights article, we find the bibliographic information needed to locate the original article about this instrument. In some cases, the instrument itself may appear in the article. If the instrument is not included, many times the article will give you the contact information for the author. You may email them to ask for a copy and permission to use it in your own research. Besides databases in your subject area, you may want to search for tests and measures in the PsycINFO database. The PsycINFO database has resources on human behavior as it relates to practically any subject area, and is not just for students in psychology, counseling, or related fields. From the library homepage, let's once again click the blue Articles and Databases button. At the top of the Articles and Databases page, select PsycINFO from the alphabetical drop-down list of databases. Here's an article I found in the PsycINFO database on the topic of ethical leadership. Click on the article title to go to the detailed record. On the detailed record, scroll down until you see a section called Tests and Measures, a unique field offered by the PsycINFO database. 6 instruments that were used in this article's research study are listed. You can find references to them in the text of the article and its bibliography. Notice that the last item, the Ethical Leadership Scale, has a link. This link takes you to the PsycTESTS database, which we discussed earlier. There you will find information about the scale, and in this case, the full text of the scale itself. Another way to identify possible instruments to use in your research is to search the Tests and Measures field directly in the PsycINFO database. In this example, I've put our subject of interest, ethical leadership, in the search box, and then I've set the corresponding box to the right to Tests and Measures. This search will go through the entire database and just look for items that have that Tests and Measures field and pull out anything that mentions ethical leadership. In this case, when I did this search, I found an article called An Improved Measure of Ethical Leadership. When I clicked on the article title to see the detailed record, I found a number of instruments listed in the Tests and Measures field. You can see that there are several that mention ethical leadership. The ones without any links will be mentioned in the article and its reference list. The ones with links have information and possibly the actual tests in the PsycTESTS database. Notice that the 5th instrument, Ethical Leadership Questionnaire, includes the word appended. This means that according to the PsycINFO database, the actual instrument can be found in this article, An Improved Measure of Ethical Leadership. In this case, there is also a link to information about this questionnaire in the PsycTESTS database. Hopefully one or both of these resources will have the full text of the instrument. Note that the Tests and Measures field is a special feature of the PsycINFO database. Some databases have a similar field, but call it something different. If a database does not have a special field designated for tests and measures, try putting your topic in the first search box and a string of keywords such as tests or measures or instruments or scales in a second search box. Be sure to include the word or between each type of measure. The word or tells the computer to find articles on ethical leadership, which also mention either tests or measures or instruments or scales. It's important to assume that the measures you find are going to be copyrighted. You will likely need to contact the original authors to get permission to use the test in your own research. If your instrument is in the PsycTEST database, there should be information about permissions for its use in the record for the item. Some of those instruments are marked as available to be used for research or teaching, as you can see in our example for the Employee Empowerment Scale. This means that the author has already granted permission for a researcher to use the instrument as is. In addition to getting permission from the copyright holder, you may need to get permission from your institution. Most colleges and universities have what's called an Institutional Review Board, or IRB, which approves research projects done by its faculty, students, and staff. Not every class project is going to need IRB approval, so be sure to check with your instructor. Additional information about tests is provided on our Finding Tests and Other Instruments Research Guide. To locate this guide, click the blue Research Guides button. On our Research Guides page, go to the left column. Here you may search for the word tests in the Search All Guides box, or click on the Browse All Guides A to Z link directly above and search for the guide called Finding Tests. Here's the home page for the Finding Tests and Other Instruments Research Guide. The URL for this guide is given at the top right of the screen. Additional resources on tests and measures and their design are provided on this research guide. If you have questions or need assistance, go to the library homepage and click the blue Contact a Librarian box. On the left are ways that you can contact us. We recommend that you start by getting in touch with our research services desk, either through in-person visits, phone, email, or chat. Our chat service is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, except for major U.S. holidays. Additional training videos on a variety of topics are available.